everything just falls into place. It just makes such a difference when you get two key guys back in your lineup.
After a last-place finish in the North Division, the Canucks took care of business in the offseason, signing Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes to multi-year extensions. With Thatcher Demko signed long-term, the core pieces of this Vancouver team are in place. Veteran netminder Yaroslav Halak comes in as the backup, while the big move was a blockbuster trade to acquire Oliver Ekman-Larsson. The defenseman, with still 6 years left on his contract, has the opportunity for a fresh start in Vancouver. Another key piece to the trade could be Connor Garland, who provides a needed upgrade in the top six. What is clear is the Canucks have invested in their youth. Pettersson and Hughes are amongst the top points per game players under the age of 23 in the league, and as they continue to develop, Vancouver will be expecting a return to the postseason.
Lots of room for improvement for the Vancouver Canucks after last season, but I do detect some optimism amongst the fan base after the signings of Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. But we'll get the facts from a guy in the know. So we're pleased to be joined now by Harman Dayal. So Harman, it's the big question. Should fans be optimistic? Is this team, as currently constructed, a playoff team?
I think they're right up there in terms of being a 50-50 for one of the final spots in the Pacific Division. And I think the optimism stems from the upgraded top nine group, especially adding a piece like Connor Garland. He's going to be such a huge contributor for them. He's someone who fans may not be as familiar with, playing a little bit under the radar in Arizona, but he's going to be a dynamic force for them. An excellent addition there. And then even just the Elias Pettersson factor, he missed the second half of last season. And even when he did play through the first 8 to 10 games, it was off to a really rough start. It was only the last 10, 15 games before he ultimately got hurt that he really looked like himself. So with some of the top guys rebounding, with Connor Garland in the mix, even a piece like Jason Dickinson being a substantial upgrade in the bottom six as a center, I think that this team up front is positioned to be a lot deeper, a lot stronger. I think where some of the question marks start to come up is with the back end, particularly on the right side of the defense, especially because Travis Hammonick's status is uncertain. So we'll see how the back end holds up and overall just the club's defensive performance, because I think when we look back at last year, that was really their Achilles heel. And I don't know if they've necessarily solved that problem. In terms of making the playoffs, I think they'll inevitably have to probably beat out one of the Alberta teams, Edmonton or Calgary, to do it. And that's why I think it's a coin flip. It's probably going to come down to the wire, where I like their forward group, don't like their defense as much. And so we'll see if some of their new additions can give them enough of a push to get them into the playoffs again.
All right, well, let's dig in now on the back end and another new big sign. That's Oliver Ekman-Larsson. This acquisition not without its critics, Harman. What is your opinion on OEL?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand a lot of the concern and skepticism as it relates to how he's going to age long term, maybe through years 3, 4, 5, and 6. But in the here and now, I'm not too worried about OEL's ability to bounce back. And I think just escaping that environment in Arizona is going to do a lot of wonders with respect to that fresh start. I mean, playing with the Coyotes, being the face of that franchise, now being able to come in and play second pair minutes behind Quinn Hughes, obviously is going to be leaned on a ton, but I think just a new system is also going to help him out. The Arizona Coyotes played an ultra tight defense first system. And in Vancouver, I think the free flowing offensive style is going to give OEL more of a chance to play his own game, where he can step up into the rush, activate offensively. And even just from a relationship standpoint, I think the last couple of years, a lot of dysfunction on and off the ice. OEL was nearly traded to Vancouver in the summer of 2020. And so even from those aspects, I think he's going to be rejuvenated by this new opportunity. So while I have concerns long-term about the contract, I think in the short term, I do expect that he'll bounce back to some extent.
And what about the short term for the Vancouver Canucks? Say this season doesn't start the way people are hoping for. How safe is Travis Green?
Well, this is a playoffs or bust kind of year. We've seen it as soon as the season kind of ended. We heard management talk about it, and whether it's Travis Green, whether it's Jim Benning, the general manager, I think nobody's safe if this team doesn't make the playoffs. And so it obviously remains to be seen how poor of a start we're talking about. If the team still has a chance to make it after the first 20, 30 games, I think they'll give someone like Travis Green the opportunity to ride it out and see if he can steer the ship back to the playoffs. But make no mistake, if at the end of the season this team has not made the playoffs, there are going to be changes within the organization.
All right, the expectations have been set. Harman, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.